Some people argue that they ought to have known that. I mean, that naturally, if something is about the nation's interest first, then the people concerned or involved should know that first, and the issue of lobbying should not even come up.
Well, you know, in politics, unfortunately, particularly the brand of politics we play in Nigeria, anything is possible. I'm not happy to say this, but the reality of the fact is that most Nigerian politicians think about themselves first before the nation. And that is a very sad situation. You would expect that at this point in time, the national security is of paramount importance more than anything else. I think that if you were to carry out an opinion poll in those states, I believe that most of the residents in those areas would want this emergency, because I don't really see what they lose by having it. But I have a lot to lose by not having it. So I think that the senators and House of Representatives are perhaps bothered that the president might go beyond what it is today. Even under the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, he actually sacked the governors. I think in Ekiti and in Plateau State, the president has the power to do so under state of emergency. So it is important that they are looking beyond this. I said, look,
not he, because some people have said it is unconstitutional.
You know, you can argue forward and backwards, but it was done. And for several months, it lasted. So if it had been done before, it can be done again. Then, because we have to go to court. I have the court declare it's illegal. But whether it can be done, it's been done. So it's not, we're not inventing the wheel here. It's been done before. But here we are, the structures are in place, the governors are in place, states are in place. What I need them to tell us is, what would the people lose? Or what would Nigerians who are affected, what would they lose if you renew this emergency? But by the way, let me even say, as it is in my view, you can't even renew it because it has lapsed.
So you should call for another one.
Yes, Section 305 actually says it must be renewed before the current one expires. Since it's expired, the president has to do a fresh proclamation, in my view, and then pass or gazette it, and then seek the approval of the National Assembly within 2 days if they're in session, and within 10 days if they're not in session.
And that takes a longer time.
It's a longer time.
So while we're waiting for that to happen, the status quo remains?
It remains, because you're dealing with the constitutional democracy. The president cannot unilaterally declare it without reference to the National Assembly. That is the concept of checks and balances. You do this, the other arm of government checks you.
What happened to that portion of the Constitution that said the primary objective of government is to protect lives and property? Can't the president make his declaration based on that portion of the Constitution?
Well, that declaration has been conformed with all the provisions of the Constitution. You cannot pick a particular section and ignore the rest. If it's an emergency, Section 305 is very clear and detailed and emphatic about it. So you cannot go outside those provisions on the basis of security being the primary objective of government. So you must do within the law.
If you're going to advise the government now, legally speaking, what would you tell them?
First, I would say that I'm not sure the president has even addressed the nation on this matter.
What do you mean?
You see, the Constitution provides for situations where the president can address the joint session of the National Assembly on important national issues. An address to the National Assembly, the Senate and House of Reps, is an address to the nation. This issue is important enough. It's not just about budgets that you address the National Assembly. It's important enough that the president tells the entire nation and gives us the confidence that something is being done, that indeed the government is not for the situation. So I expect first that the president should have Nigerian citizens rally around him, address the nation, tell us what is going on. Some persons have become hopeless because these attacks have been coming. The military is doing its best, but we need political cover to even do better. I also think that there's nothing wrong with the president making a move. Go to one of these areas that are affected, make a surprise visit, talk to the troops. We see this happening overseas. You don't have to announce it ahead of time because of security implications, but it would raise the morale of the soldiers on the field to see that the president still appears in Damaturu, maybe one morning, unannounced, and you get the troops, talk to them, look, the nation is behind you. Your fight is not in vain. fight for the. These are things that will energize them, so that the president recognizes what they're doing. Even talk to their wives, those whose husbands have been killed in battle. Find a way of reaching out to them. These are things that make citizens buy completely, or if you like, comprehensively into what government is doing. There's a disconnect, and that's not good for us. There must be clear evidence that we are part of this. It's not just government against Boko Haram. The Nigerians are part of this. And you must let them understand that you care for those who are fighting and dying, unfortunately, while saving some of us.
And it would seem that is where we're missing out on this particular point you just raised, a situation whereby even politicians, as you rightly said, if all else fails, you wouldn't even have your seat, let alone your constituency to get votes from. So how can we begin to make some of us, politicians, religious people, be you a fanatic or not, get to understand the import of what we're dealing with as a people?
I feel that a lot has to do with government. I believe not much has been done to get the entire nation to rally around government in this fight. Haven't had much from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, for example. I expect that in a matter like this, where we have borders with certain nations, it's been alleged that some of those nations are part of this war, fighting us. I haven't seen the minister talk or do what you call short diplomacy. Go to Chad, go to Cameroon. We see John Kerry do this all the time. Look at the distance between the US and the Middle East. And he flies there all the time to do this. Most people are on our borders. So I think that even the Minister of Interior is in charge of prisons, in charge of immigration. How are these people ended up in our country? Do they have the right permission to be here in this country? These are issues to be dealt with. It's not just about shooting, it's also about a comprehensive master plan to deal with the situation. I also think that the nation must also work hard to reduce corruption and increase the capacity of government to take many people out of poverty line. You see, Boko Haram is, in quotes, doing well because there are many people who are jobless, who are hungry, who are uneducated. So they find it very convenient because they believe they have no life elsewhere than to join Boko Haram. Otherwise, how can a rational human being who is employed choose to tie a bomb around his body and go and blow himself up?
I think I'm getting to think back, and even though so many Nigerians were young and even unborn then, when you go into the history books, you can pick out some names of those who were actually, well, talking about some form of awareness during the Nigerian Civil War, even in the World War when Hitler was there. Those who were speaking up, called them propagandists, but they were talking and people could hear them and they could follow some of these things they were saying. And you say we haven't actually done well enough in this fight to sensitize the people in every dialect or language that they can understand.
We haven't. You see, I'll tell you this. If you watch the television in Nigeria, check the adverts you see on TV. Most of those adverts are political adverts about vote for this person, vote for that person, second term. Look, how many adverts do we have from the Ministry of Information targeted at Nigerians on the need for them to be vigilant, on the need for them not to see this as a religious war? Look, when I was building a house in my village many years ago, one of the persons who worked on the house was a Hausa man, Muslim Hausa man, who was living in Owerri, married to an Igbo lady, the children speak Igbo and all that, living in Owerri, almost an Igbo man. We have lots of Igbos who have lived all their lives in Damaturu, in Kano, in Maiduguri. Of course, many of them have been forced home, and today they are going through difficult times because it was like uprooting them from their roots and taking them a place that's supposed to be home but not whom in this sense, because they never identified that much. You know, what is government doing to assure these people that, look, this is temporary? We'll take care of this problem and you go back to that place. And I just imagine that young man who I engaged to do some work for me, assuming there was a strife in Imo, and that person, you take him out of Owerri, that he considers as home.
Because that's home to that
Yes,
individual.
and take him to Kano or somewhere, he'll feel like fish out of water. These are areas you expect the Ministry of Information to work hard, to let Nigerians know that we need to unite.
What about the orientation agency, NOA?
Well, I mentioned Ministry of Information because that is particularly statutory ministry. It's every government has Ministry of Information. National Orientation Agency is there. There's a DG in charge of it. They have staff, they have offices. But what they do is just, you and I can guess as to why they're working or they're not working. This is something that the Ministry of Information should spearhead. Maybe I think even that agency is a parastatal on the Ministry of Information. So these are things you expect. Have jingles on radio.
Because